There's a trap that narcissists fall into, a prison of their own making. They spend their lives crafting illusions, manipulating reality, and convincing others of their superiority. But there's one thing they can never escape: the truth. No matter how much they run, no matter how many people they deceive, they are forever trapped by the consequences of their own behavior. At the heart of narcissism lies deception. They build an identity not on truth, but on carefully constructed lies, exaggerating their achievements, masking their insecurities, and projecting confidence where there is none. But the problem with a life built on lies is that it requires constant maintenance. Every interaction, every relationship, every success has to be upheld by further deception. It's exhausting. And deep down, they know it. Narcissists live in a world of their own creation, built on illusions, exaggerations, and outright deception. They craft a false identity, one that is grander, stronger, and more invincible than reality allows. They present themselves as confident, successful, and superior, ensuring that everyone around them sees only what they want to be seen. But there's a problem with this carefully constructed facade. T is exhausting to maintain, and it never truly feels real. No matter how much they manipulate others into believing their story, deep down they know the truth. They know that the persona they show the world is fragile, and any slip, any contradiction, any crack in the illusion threatens to expose them. This is why they react so aggressively when questioned, why they twist the truth to fit their narrative, and why they avoid accountability at all costs. The burden of constantly upholding their own lies weighs on them, but instead of admitting reality, they double down, making the deception even heavier. They tell themselves they are strong, yet they cannot handle even the smallest criticism. They tell themselves they are superior, yet they rely on the validation of others to feel worthy. They tell themselves they are always right, yet they secretly fear being wrong. Every lie they tell adds another layer to the mask they wear, and with each passing day the mask becomes harder to remove. They don't just lie to others, they lie to themselves. They convince themselves they are in control, but in reality they are trapped in a cycle of self-deception that they cannot escape. The truth has a way of surfacing, no matter how deeply it's buried, and when it does, narcissists are left scrambling, trying to patch up the cracks before everything falls apart. But there's one thing they can never escape: the weight of their own lies. Lies don't just deceive others, they poison the one who tells them. The more they manipulate reality, the more disconnected they become from it. And in the end, they are not admired, not respected, not loved. They are simply alone, burdened by a life that was never truly theirs to begin with. Narcissists live with a constant, inescapable fear, the fear of being exposed. They present themselves as confident, powerful, and in control, but beneath the surface, they are fragile, insecure, and terrified of being seen for who they truly are. Their entire identity is built on perception, on carefully crafted illusions designed to make them appear stronger, smarter, and more important than they actually feel. But deep down, they know that it's all a mask. And nothing scares them more than the idea that someone might see through it. This is why they are always on guard, always controlling the narrative, always ensuring that the spotlight shines on their best version of reality. They manipulate conversations, twist facts, and rewrite history just to maintain their illusion of superiority. The thought of being exposed, of having their flaws, mistakes, and weaknesses revealed sends them into a panic. They will do anything to avoid it, even if it means lying, gaslighting, or tearing others down to keep themselves elevated. But no matter how much they try to run, the truth has a way of catching up. They may fool people for a while, but deception is never sustainable. The cracks start to show. People begin to notice the inconsistencies. The charm that once worked so effortlessly begins to fade, and those around them start to see the manipulation for what it is. And when that happens, the narcissist's worst fear comes true: exposure. The moment when their carefully curated image begins to collapse, when the reality of who they are can no longer be hidden. Instead of facing this fear and growing from it, They lash out, they blame others, create distractions, and try to shift the focus away from themselves. They refuse to take responsibility because doing so would mean admitting they aren't perfect, admitting they aren't as powerful as they pretend to be. But no matter how hard they fight, the truth remains. And that is their greatest torment. Knowing that no matter how much they manipulate, no matter how much they deceive, they will never truly escape the fear of being exposed. Because deep down, they know the truth, even if they refuse to admit it. Narcissists crave admiration, attention, and validation, but what they truly lack, and what they can never seem to grasp, is real connection. They surround themselves with people who feed their ego, who reinforce their delusions of superiority, who make them feel important. But for all the admiration they seek, they never experience true intimacy, true vulnerability, or true love. They want to be adored, but they don't want to be known. Because to be truly known is to risk being exposed. And so they live in a world of shallow relationships where everything is transactional, where people are tools rather than companions, and where emotional depth is avoided at all costs. They cannot form deep bonds because deep bonds require openness, honesty, and trust, qualities that narcissists struggle with. They fear being vulnerable because vulnerability means relinquishing control. It means allowing someone to see their weaknesses, their flaws, their insecurities. And that is something they cannot tolerate. So instead, they create a wall between themselves and others, never allowing anyone to get too close. They may appear to be charismatic, charming, and confident, but beneath it all, they are alone. They chase relationships that serve their needs, but not ones that nurture their soul. They manipulate people into staying, but they never build the kind of loyalty that lasts, because relationships built on control, on lies, on self-interest, they do not stand the test of time. People begin to realize that they are being used, that their emotions are being exploited, and eventually they walk away. And when that happens, the narcissist is left wondering why, once again, they are alone. But instead of looking inward, instead of facing the emptiness that follows them wherever they go, they repeat the same cycle, finding new people to manipulate, new relationships to drain, new sources of admiration to fill the void inside them. But the truth is, that void can never be filled externally. No amount of praise, no amount of attention, no amount of power can substitute for genuine human connection. And so they remain trapped, forever chasing admiration, yet never feeling loved. Forever surrounded by people, yet never truly close to anyone. Forever filling a void that only grows deeper with every empty relationship, every broken connection, every missed opportunity for real, meaningful love. Narcissists are constantly at war, but the battle they fight isn't with the world, it's within themselves. No matter how much admiration they collect, how many people they control, or how much success they appear to achieve, there is a deep and inescapable emptiness inside them. It's a void they spend their entire lives trying to outrun, but no matter where they go or what they do, it follows them. It whispers to them in the quiet moments, in the stillness when no one is watching, reminding them that something is missing. And that truth terrifies them. They believe they can fill this emptiness with power, status, and attention. They demand praise, surround themselves with admirers, and manipulate situations to always be in control. But no matter how much they take from others, whether it's validation, loyalty, or even love, it never satisfies them. It's like trying to fill an endless pit with sand. For a moment, it feels like progress, but the emptiness remains. Because what they are missing isn't something external, it's something internal. They lack a true sense of self. Everything they do, everything they are, is a carefully constructed image designed to impress and manipulate. But deep down, they don't know who they really are. And that uncertainty eats away at them. They fear introspection because looking inward would mean confronting their own flaws, their own weaknesses, their own insecurities. So instead they bury those feelings beneath layers of arrogance and deception, convincing themselves and others that they are invincible. But no one can run from themselves forever. There comes a moment when the distractions fade, when the admiration wanes, when the people they once controlled walk away. And in that silence, the emptiness grows louder. It reminds them of the relationships they destroyed, the trust they shattered, the love they were never able to fully experience. And in that moment, they realize that despite all their efforts to build an empire of control, they have built nothing but isolation. True fulfillment doesn't come from admiration, power, or status. It comes from authenticity, from real connections, from self-awareness. But for narcissists, that path is almost impossible to take because it requires something they fear most. And so, the battle with inner emptiness continues, a fight they can never truly win until they stop looking outward for worth and start looking inward for truth. Narcissists believe they can outmaneuver consequences. They think they can manipulate, deceive, and control without ever facing the fallout of their actions. They live as if they are untouchable, bending reality to fit their desires, rewriting history to protect their image, and discarding people the moment they are no longer useful. But what they refuse to acknowledge is this: no one escapes the consequences of their actions forever. Eventually, everything they've done, every bridge they've burned, every lie they've told, and every person they've hurt comes back around. At first, their tactics seem to work. They charm their way out of accountability, shift blame onto others, and convince people that they are victims instead of perpetrators. They create an illusion of control, making themselves the center of attention, the one who always wins. But there's a limit to how long a person can manipulate those around them before the cracks begin to show. People start to see the patterns, the same emotional destruction, the same cycle of betrayal, the same self-serving behaviors that leave pain in their wake. And when that happens, one by one, people walk away. Narcissists may believe they can simply replace those who leave, find new sources of admiration, new people to manipulate, new relationships to exploit. But the truth is, relationships are not infinite. Trust, once broken, does not repair itself. And over time, the pool of people willing to believe in them, to stand by them, to invest in them, becomes smaller and smaller. The isolation they once thought they could avoid starts to take hold. The attention they once demanded becomes harder to find, and they are left with nothing but the remnants of the damage they've caused. Regret is an emotion narcissists try to suppress, but in the quiet moments, it creeps in. The realization that they have no one to turn to, that their once loyal friends have moved on, that their reputation is tarnished beyond repair. They may try to convince themselves they don't need anyone, but deep down, they feel the weight of their own loneliness. The admiration they spent their lives chasing was temporary, but the impact of their actions is permanent.